Okay, let's take you back. Picture this. Mokattam, Cairo, 2004. It's still dark, maybe 5:00 a.m., just before dawn. This is an upscale area, quiet, lots of villas, but also these half-finished building sites, just dirt lots and concrete skeletons. Eerily quiet.
Uh-huh. The kind of quiet where any sound really carries.
Mm.
But it wasn't sound that broke the silence that morning. It was frantic phone calls. Multiple calls to the police coming from the local gatekeepers, the guards hired to watch over these properties.
They'd found something bad, out on one of those empty construction lots.
Yes. When police arrived, the scene was pretty stark. The body of a young man, maybe mid-20s, looks like he'd been dead maybe 3-4 hours.
And the injuries.
Brutal. A really severe blow to the back of the head, looked like from something heavy, and then multiple stab wounds right in the chest.
Ah.
Very violent.
So this isn't just some random incident. That combination sounds personal?
Yeah.
Calculated, even.
Exactly. And what immediately made this case jump out, what made it really chilling, was the victim himself. He was a complete John Doe. No wallet, no phone, no papers, nothing, absolutely nothing on him to say who he was.
Okay, so the killer, or killers, knew him. They had to.
That's what the police figured right away. They knew him, and they deliberately stripped him of his identity because they were afraid. Afraid of being linked to him immediately. It turned him into a ghost.
So right from the start, we've got this unidentified body, a vicious murder, and this sense of conspiracy, a cover-up. Our job today is to try and peel back those layers of fear and deception that just instantly descended on this case.
And you mentioned fear and deception. It started with the very people who called it in. The timing was key. The evidence suggested the murder happened hours earlier, maybe near midnight.
Ew.
But the call, it didn't come until after the Fajr prayer, the morning call to prayer. That's a big gap.
Right. Let's dig into the scene itself. What did the forensics find? Because that immediately threw a wrench in the works, didn't it?
It really did. The physical evidence just didn't match the story that the body was simply found there. Investigators found blood spatter, quite a bit of it actually, about 15 meters away from where the body was lying.
15 meters. Wow. So he wasn't killed where they found him?
No. That strongly suggested the attack happened elsewhere on the site, and then the body was moved, dragged, or carried those 15 meters.
Which takes effort. And probably more than one person, especially if you're trying to be quiet about it.
Precisely. It points towards multiple people involved in, well, staging the scene after the fact. And nearby, they found a large stone, heavy, with traces of hair on it, likely the weapon used for that head injury, confirming the sheer brutality.
Okay, so forensics points to a planned, brutal attack, multiple people moving the body, but the witnesses, the gatekeepers who reported it.
Their stories were a mess, completely contradictory about when they supposedly found the body. One guy says 3:00 a.m., another insists it was 4:30 a.m., others stick to the story of only finding him after the morning prayer.
That's not just confusion. That sounds like people deliberately trying not to agree on a time, like they're scared.
Oh, absolutely. It screamed cover-up. But amidst all that confusion, one potentially crucial piece of information slipped out. One of the guards mentioned they were alerted by Hussein the gatekeeper.
Hussein. And when the police went looking for this Hussein...
Gone. Vanished. They found out he'd only been working at that particular site for about 2 weeks. 15 days. And sometime between the murder and dawn, he'd packed up everything, his family too, cleared out his little room, and fled. Headed straight back to his home village in Beni Suef, miles away.
Okay, well that makes him look incredibly guilty, doesn't it? New guy, witnesses mention him, he flees the scene at dawn. He's instantly suspect number one.
He absolutely was. The investigation immediately pivots, puts all its resources into tracking down Hussein. They see him as the killer. And that chase, well, it cost them valuable time. A whole week, really.
A critical week lost. When you're dealing with a murder this deliberate, how much does that kind of delay caused by witness fear actually hurt the investigation?
It's huge. Evidence gets colder, trails go stale, people's memories or their prepared stories solidify. They eventually tracked Hussein down to Beni Suef, brought him back to Cairo under intense suspicion. But when they finally got him talking, his story wasn't about guilt. It was about terror.
So what did Hussein say happened?
He told him the whole thing went down much, much earlier, around 11 p.m. the night before. He said he saw 2 young men and a young woman arguing really loudly with the victim, right there on that construction site. He heard shouting, sounds of a fight.
Okay.
He cautiously went closer, and one of the young men apparently told him something like, "We're just talking," trying to brush him off. But Hussein said he saw blood on the guy's hand.
Blood. Right, and he panicked.
Completely panicked. Remember, he's the new guy. Probably feels vulnerable, maybe worried about his residency or just getting dragged into something serious. He feared being blamed.
Yeah.
So he backed off. Waited maybe 10 minutes until the noise stopped. Then he crept back, found the body, and that's when he alerted the other gatekeepers.
Ah, so he did tell his colleagues right away, around 11:30 p.m.
Yes, he told them exactly what he'd seen. But then, fearing he'd be the prime suspect because he was new and had witnessed it, he decided to flee before dawn.
Wow. Okay, so Hussein's account, if true, completely explains the other guards' behavior.
It unlocked the whole puzzle. Suddenly, the contradictory timings made sense. The other guards knew about the murder near midnight because Hussein told them. But they were too scared of getting involved, losing their jobs, maybe even facing suspicion themselves.
So they made a pact, a collective decision out of fear.
Seems like it. They decided to wait until the safety of dawn, maybe thinking reporting it after prayers seemed more normal, less suspicious. And they deliberately fudged the times, creating confusion to distance themselves from the actual event. They basically bought themselves safety at the cost of the investigation's crucial first week.
Unbelievable. So the focus snaps away from Hussein. Now it's squarely on these two young men and the girl he described, but the victim is still unidentified. No missing person reports locally. How do you find out who a John Doe is back in 2004, especially if he's not from Mokattam?
Yeah, Ain Shams, where he was eventually ID'd from, is quite far from Mokattam. It took sheer persistence, good old-fashioned police work. Since checking local records in Mokattam yielded nothing, they had to think broader. Where would someone who isn't local likely pass through?
Transport hubs, main roads.
Exactly. They focused on major public transport routes, specifically the Saida Aisha stop, a really busy hub for buses and microbuses coming in and out of that part of Cairo. They started showing the victim's forensic photo around, just asking people, showing the picture again and again.
That sounds like searching for a needle in a haystack, hoping someone recognizes a face from a photo.
It absolutely is. It takes incredible patience. But eventually it paid off. A passenger looked at the photo and said, "Yeah, I know him. That's Abdullah," nicknamed Abdo. He was 26, a laborer, and crucially, he was from Ain Shams, a totally different district.
Which explains why no one in Mokattam knew him and why his family hadn't reported him missing yet.
Right. Abdo apparently often stayed away from home for days at a time, looking for work or staying near job sites. So his family wasn't immediately alarmed. Police also learned something else important. Abdo had a bit of a reputation in his own neighborhood, known for getting into fights, maybe being a bit of a troublemaker.
Okay, so that reputation, that tendency for trouble, that might be what connects him to the people Hussein saw.
That's exactly the path investigators followed. They started digging into Abdo's recent relationships, his arguments, any trouble he'd been in. And pretty quickly, they focused on a strained relationship he had with a woman named Amani.
Amani.
Yes. And further witness statements placed Abdo together with Amani, her brother Sammy, and get this, her sister's fiancé, Khaled, just about 2 weeks before the murder.
There they are. The two men and the woman from Hussein's account now have names, Amani, Sami, and Khaled. But the motive, why would Amani, her brother, and her future brother-in-law commit such a brutal, premeditated murder against a laborer like Abdo? What was the connection?
The connection was exploitation. It was about money, yes, but more powerfully, it was about social ruin, honor. Abdo and Amani had dated for about a year, but it seems Abdo had darker intentions. He recorded their phone conversations, specifically the non-ethical ones, as the reports termed them, explicit conversations.
On cassette tapes. Wow, that really places us in 2004, doesn't it? Physical tapes. The ultimate blackmail material back then.
Absolutely devastating potential. When Amani tried to break off the relationship, Abdo played his card. He threatened to release the tapes publicly, unless you paid him. He demanded 200 Egyptian pounds for each tape.
200 EGP per tape. In 2004, for someone like Amani or her family, that's significant money. Maybe not a fortune, but a serious strain.
It was serious money, maybe a fifth of a laborer's monthly wage back then. But it wasn't just a one-time payment. It was ongoing extortion, a threat designed to bleed them dry. But the money, might have been secondary. The real leverage was the shame, the social destruction those tapes represented.
Absolutely. Releasing something like that in their community, it wouldn't just ruin Amani's reputation, it would devastate her family's standing, their honor, especially with her sister engaged to Khaled. The shame would ripple outwards.
Precisely. That's the context you need to understand their reaction. When Amani tearfully confessed this extortion plot to her brother Sammy, Khaled, the fiancé, was apparently there. He heard the whole threat. And faced with this potential public humiliation and financial drain, they didn't go to the police. They didn't try to negotiate further. They made a different decision.
They decided to silence him permanently.
Premeditated murder. They chose to eliminate the threat rather than pay the price or risk exposure.
That decision to resort to murder over extortion, especially involving family honor, it speaks volumes about how they viewed the stakes and maybe their faith, or lack thereof, in the legal system protecting them from that kind of social ruin. Okay, so they decide on murder. Let's talk about the plan. This wasn't spontaneous rage.
Not at all. It was cold, calculated. Amani was the key to the setup. She had to be the one to lure Abdu. She contacted him, pretended she'd give in, agreed to meet him in Mokattam, supposedly to pay him off and get the tapes back.
And the location, Mokattam, wasn't random?
No, it was chosen specifically because Sammy and Khaled worked as laborers in that area. They knew the layout. They knew those dark, deserted construction sites. They knew where they wouldn't be easily seen.
So they set the trap. What happened when Abdu arrived?
Amani met him, likely seemed compliant. Then, according to the reconstruction, she feigned a sudden illness, maybe a stomach cramp, something to get them to move off the street and deeper into the darkness of that construction plot. Abdu followed. Sammy was likely already there or joined them. Once they were inside, isolated, the attack was immediate. Khaled came out of nowhere, striking Abdu from behind with that heavy stone, a massive blow to the head.
Taking him down instantly or incapacitating him.
Exactly. Knocked him out or stunned him severely. And then Sammy moved in immediately with a knife, 3 stab wounds to the chest, making absolutely sure Abdu was dead.
And while the men carried out the physical act, what was Amani's role at that moment?
Her role was crucial for the cover-up. While Sammy and Khaled dealt the killing blows, she secured the evidence. She took the cassette tapes, the entire reason for the murder. And very importantly, she took Abdu's wallet, all his ID, his papers, everything that could identify him.
Completing their plan, eliminate the threat, erase the victim. That explains why he was found stripped of everything. And moving the body those 15 meters, that was to obscure the actual spot where the ambush happened.
Yes, muddy the waters for investigators. Make it look like maybe he was killed elsewhere and dumped there. We also know they had that brief encounter with Hussein, the gatekeeper, but Khaled apparently managed to distract him, say something reassuring, and get him to move along before he saw too much.
They almost got away with it in the short term thanks to the fear they instilled in the witnesses. But eventually, the police were caught up.
It did. Once Abdu was identified and his connection to Amani, Sammy, and Khaled was established, the net closed in. They were arrested following a security sting. And the final piece of damning evidence. During a search of Amani and Sammy's home, the police found Abdu's wallet, his official documents, the proof they'd taken his identity after killing him. The tapes were likely recovered, too.
So all three, Amani, Sammy, Khaled, faced trial for premeditated murder. And the verdict?
Guilty. All 3 were convicted and sentenced to death.
The maximum penalty. Was there any argument made, do we know, about provocation? Defending family honor, perhaps, as a mitigating factor?
Oh, I'm sure the defense would have argued that. Extortion, the threat to reputation, those are powerful emotional drivers. But legally, the key element was the premeditation. This wasn't a heat-of-the-moment reaction.
No. They planned it, chose the location, lured him there, brought weapons, coordinated the attack, and then actively concealed the crime by moving the body and stealing the ID.
Exactly. That level of planning, that calculation, elevates it far beyond a reaction to provocation. Abdu's actions, the extortion, the threat, were absolutely reprehensible, criminal even. But their response was a separate, calculated conspiracy to commit murder. The justice system, in this case, drew a very clear line. You cannot erase one crime by committing an even more serious, planned one. That led straight to the death penalty.
It's a chilling case. It really forces you to think about that dangerous line between seeking justice or maybe vengeance privately, especially when things like family honor feel so intensely personal, and the cold reality of the law when planning crosses into murder.
It really does. It leaves you wondering, doesn't it? When you feel the system can't or won't protect you from a certain kind of harm, like public ruin, how far does someone go? And at what precise moment does that pursuit of personal justice become a crime that carries the ultimate penalty?
A stark question indeed. Thank you for walking us through the complexities of this case.